up, people? Welcome to a brand new episode of Wrestle Update. Once again, it's me, Dylan Fox. Nelo De Angelis is here. Why would he not be here when we have so much to talk about? And this is our first foray. Well, kind of. A lot of people think that Bloodsport was a WWE show, to be fair. But this is our first foray into the actual factual WWE universe in the year of our Lord 2025 in WrestleMania weekend. We have NXT to talk about. Where else will we start? Where else will we go? Stand and Deliver 2025, the flagship event from NXT's brand, even though they kind of call it WWE shows now. This show came to us from the T-Mobile Arena in Paradise, Nevada. Although, as I understand it, Paradise, Nevada is not much of a paradise. But regardless, this was an NXT show. This is going to be a lot different than our prior review we did earlier today on Joey Janela's Spring Break, I have a feeling. But still, fun stuff to talk about. This show, I think the first thing we got to bring up here. This show started so damn early in the day.
Dude.
Why? Why did they do this?
So if you went to Heels Have Eyes, which started at 1 a.m. local time at the Pearl Theater, they went on an hour late. You probably got like 4 hours of sleep. Lucky.
And I also got like 4 hours of sleep. But I had to catch up on Spring Break, to be fair, beforehand. This WrestleMania grind for WrestleMania week, you can't go halfway. If you want to make it through getting everything you want, you got to fight for it. And they have made it harder. I mentioned this on the other show. I don't know why they did this on Easter. They made it that much harder, but whatever. Coming in there, we got through it. We're doing big things. We have a lot to say about everything going on in wrestling right now. And right now, we got a lot to talk about with NXT. I have to say, neither of us are regular NXT viewers week to week. But I looked at this show, and I was so annoyed. And you can make this complaint about actual WrestleMania when we talk about it. You can make it on some of these AEW shows we've seen recently. I don't understand why in the big two companies, like the TV wrestling companies in America, what is with this obsession with multi-man matches? These are your big shows. And I looked at this card, and it's all multi-man matches outside of one. And I just don't understand what they're doing with this. And I think it's really hurt the overall vibe of these shows. I mean, I guess if you're an NXT fan, you're going to buy into anything anyway, like if you're into the stories. But I was just had no hype for this. To be fair, last year, you had the big match with Femi, Dijak, and Briggs, which was a great triple threat match. And I think they tried to recapture that with the main event. We'll talk about how that worked out. But overall, NXT, what was your feelings going into this? Because I definitely think we were coming off of a big high with the Janela Spring Break. How were you feeling about going into this show?
I had just woken up 15 minutes before. I did not even know what the card was going in. So
it was all Mystery Vortex show for you, baby.
Yeah, NXT Mystery Vortex presents Stand and Deliver was pretty much my morning.
Did you watch the pre-show match?
I did watch the pre-show match because I thought it started then.
Yeah, me too. This was all an accident.
Pre-show match, and I was like, I could have slept more.
Yeah, oops, going in there. So that whole deal was a number one contenders match for the women's tag titles. You had Metaphor, Jakara Jackson, and Lash Legend, Fatal Influence, Fallon Henley and Jason Jane, Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez, and Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley. I have to say, with all of these multi-person matches, I think it's crazy how Roxy is in the pre-show of Stand and Deliver. And even Fallon, like we talked about, remember when we reviewed the the Survival deadline for NXT, where we talked about how much Fallon Henley's improved. We talked about her and Vaquer at Vengeance Day. Like, that was a great match. Fallon and Roxy have been main characters for this show, and they're stuck in the pre-show? Like, you couldn't have found a spot with all of these multi-person matches? That was crazy. But what'd you think of the opening tag?
So, I mean, it seems like a way to just get a lot of people on the card, which totally cool, but I'm not familiar with, like... Actually, no. I mean, for the most part, I was familiar with everyone. I liked the finish with Roxanne doing the Pop Rocks reversal. I thought that looked really nice over Lash Legend. I just like watching Roxanne Perez, honestly. I think she's really good. I hope she gets called up. I was kind of surprised to see her on the pre-show. I was like, what did she do? I was like, okay.
It's good that she's not talking politics with CM Punk, as he said in his interview.
Yeah, seriously, Roxanne, quit it. No more politics with CM Punk.
Well, he said that they don't talk politics, to be fair.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, no more talking politics.
Keep it up. Okay, so she's on the right path. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a reintroduction to the women's division. It does seem, pretty decent. I think that it's not as deep as everyone says. I think their main event scene is pretty good, but I think that if you were to compare it to an AEW, you would still realize it's a very green division.
Yeah, I thought Roxy looked great. Cora has been spending a lot of time in TNA. I think she's significantly lower quality as a wrestler than Roxy. Fatal Influence, I thought, are both good. Fallon and JC. Of Gigi and Paxley, I think Paxley definitely works hard. You could tell that she does a lot of like complicated moves and stuff like that. She wants to be a great worker. And I mean, she's got a great look with the whole goth ghost type of gimmick that she has. I like the effort is there with her. So I enjoy watching Tatum Paxley wrestle. The Meta Girls, I think, are serviceable heels in their role, but not special. I thought the match was only okay. To me, it's got a 7.28 rating right now. I would give it 2 3/4 level.
Yeah, I'd probably go 2.5. So around there.
Yeah. So we're kind of on the same page on that one. Not bad. Served its purpose, I suppose. Gigi and Paxley are an okay team, I suppose. Like I said, I think there's more to Paxley than Gigi, in my opinion, even though Gigi has a much more extensive indie background. But it's fine. We'll see what they do. And they're set up to face whoever wins the tag titles after WrestleMania, whether it's Liv and Raquel or Bailey and Lyra. There. So we start off the regular show, and we go right away to Ethan Page. And he takes on Ricky Saints. This is our first talk about Ricky Saints actually wrestling in NXT here. Between now and Vengeance Day, he won the North American title. So they've given him like a push and all that stuff. They start off brawling. They go in there. Saints poses for the crowd and does some character stuff. Ethan ends up grabbing him and hitting a power slam on the apron. They come in there, do some basic work back and forth. Page kind of controls the match a little bit. The crowd does get behind Ricky here. He ends up hitting a springboard crossbody, and then Page jumped out of the way, and Saints took this big bump on the table on the outside. Looked pretty hard, to be honest, kind of painful. But they go on. Page ends up having him in this crab hold, and he pulls him back into their ring. He grabs the rope. It's very basic, heat getting stuff, to be honest, these two are putting out. Very simple stuff, but effective. It did work for this crowd. Saints hits his big spine buster, hits a Michinoku driver, gets a near fall out of that. Page fires back with a power slam. They go up to the top, and Saints ends up hitting a sunset bomb from the top rope. Page hits the Razor's Edge, but then he hits the spear, then the Rochambeau for the win. I thought this was like a really basic match done well for the crowd they were working for, but didn't even try to go above that. I said this a bunch on the Janela show, but I think it applies to this match too, just in a completely different way. They accomplished everything they wanted to do with this match. I wasn't that enthusiastic about it personally, but I thought what they did was effective and it worked. It's in that 3.5 star range to me. Would be where I have this match. Like a good match, but not anything special. Right now, it's got a 7.04 rating on Cage Match, which is pretty fair.
Yeah, this on paper is not a match stylistically that interests me like at all.
Yeah.
And I thought, like you said, that they worked a very basic match. It was not terribly exciting. It's two guys that I feel like I've seen work together before, and I did not really have an interest seeing them in like, say what you will, but AEW is a very different kind of work rate than a NXT. And so to see them in this environment together, it's not exactly enticing or exciting. I would rather watch them wrestle in AEW, right?
Or just wrestle some other people. Like, they should be wrestling the younger talent instead of each other, in my opinion.
Yes. Totally agree. And
let's be honest, though.
That's not to say that I don't like them in WWE. It's just that I don't. This pairing does nothing for me. But it was by no means did they do anything bad. Did they botch anything? The things they did worked, like you said, for the live crowd. WWE eats up this shit, right? And so, but yeah, I would go like 3, like very basic 3 for this.
Yeah, me too. A little bit lower than the Inmates. They had it at 7. I had it at 6. To be honest, I think this match was mainly about getting that Tony fumbled chant going here. Like, they did it for that reason. And I just think it's so stupid. Like, who cares? At the end of the day, they were in AEW and they're here now. To be honest, I think Ricky has a ton of potential. Paige, I wasn't that interested in even in AEW, to be honest. I think there are certain roles that Paige works at really well, like a Darby we always bring up. Things like that.
His match with Javon Evans is great.
That was really great. And again, like that's his ideal role, is facing a smaller wrestler that he could get heat on and will bump for him heavy and make him look great. Saints is not that guy. So I definitely agree with your point overall. But it feels like this is a meme match almost. They just wanted to book it to troll AEW fans. But it was fine. Nothing wrong with it, and it worked for the fans. So I can't hate on it too much. So we get to the NXT tag titles. Hank Walker and Tank Ledger. They take on Fraxiom, Nathan Frazier, and Axiom coming in. So they come in. They're trying to work at this big versus small battle, as you would expect with these two teams, I would say. They do some high-speed stuff for sure, back and forth. Axiom and Frazier are making quick tags coming in to get some control. Axiom does this great, like, Chris Sabin style drop, like hesitation drop kick into the corner was great. He worked some technical stuff on Hank, which I thought was really cool. Like they did a little technical battle there, calling back to Hank's early going where he was mentored by Charlie Dempsey. And they come in. Frazier does his big speed stuff coming in with the running forearm. He had a standing shooting star at one point. Axiom does more technical work with Hank, and Hank powers out of a triangle choke attempt with a power bomb. Frazier counters, and then Hank swung Axiom into Frazier to kind of get the tag to Tank. They throw in. Axiom hits another big slingshot splash. They're going back and forth to tags between both teams now. And a bunch of stuff happens, like good action, like in terms of good pacing and things like that. Hits a 450 splash from Frazier and a frog splash from Axiom. They come in. Hank ends up hitting this big full Nelson bomb at one point for a near fall. Then they build up to the big spot of the match. Like Tank opens the ropes, stands on him, and then Hank Walker hits the tope suicida right into the announce table as everyone moves. So I like this that they subverted expectations with that. They come in, Axiom hits a missile dropkick at the same time as a leg sweep from Frazier, like a high-low from the top. Looked great. One-man Spanish fly from Axiom, Phoenix splash from Frazier. Tank rushes in to break it up. Hank hits the black hole slam. Tank does his own tope suicida, which connects. And then they fire up, hit the double splash, and then the double power slam for the win. So new tag team champions after all this time, this historical NXT reign they had with Fraxiom. It gets broken up here at Stand and Deliver with Hank and Tank. I think that this match, it's got a huge rating on Cage Match right now, 9.12.
What?
Not 9.04 here. I didn't have that. I'm not making this up. Look at it on there. 9.04 rating, the inmates say.
Okay, we're just a couple hours after, though. This should balance out, I imagine, to like a 6, right?
Yeah. I thought it was good. like this is the best match on the show to me.
So, as someone who doesn't watch weekly, I don't have.
Maybe the main event might have been better.
I don't know who the people are unless they're on the PLEs. So I'm very familiar with your Tricks, your Fraxioms, except unless they're people I know before they go into NXT, but the homegrown talent, your Hanks and Tanks.
Yeah.
When this started, I was like, oh shit, they really have no one for Fraxiom. They're fighting like the Outrunners. So when these guys beat Fraxiom, I was shocked because in no way did they, to me, a new watcher, like first impressions, feel like a team to beat Fraxiom. I don't know if they're like some cult success, like what was the name of the Otis and Tucker? Heavy Machinery. I don't know if there's some like cult fan favorite like Heavy Machinery or something, but I was just really surprised. What I hope this means is that Fraxiom's getting called up. There's really I don't think they have anything else to do in NXT at this point. They're both incredibly incompetent wrestlers, and the WWE Raw Tag Division is desperately in need of some more bodies. But yeah, I'd go like 3.25.
First of all, I think 100% Fraxiom's getting called up. It's the end result of this. I mean, they kind of did the deal after the match where, they did a handshake. Axiom teased the heel turn, but then hugged him at the end. He threw the hand back, but then hugged him after. Like you said, nothing left to do for them. The tag team division on the main roster definitely needs some help. And they're a great team. I thought that I like this match better than you. I'm with you on Hank and Tank. They're better off as underdog people, like cult favorites, as you said, not necessarily the champions. But maybe we'll see what they have for them. They weren't who I had in mind, but it shows you how weak the tag division in WWE is. You can say what you want about the women, but I think there's much more depth here for the women than the tag team scene. And they just ran out of options. For Fraxiom, they beat all the teams. They've beaten them before, and they brought it back to two, like you said, homegrown guys, I guess. Could they have had a better team? For sure. I thought they measured up pretty well here. I thought the Fraxiom team had a lot of good pace here. They built to the spots with them diving. It was good. I thought that was good work. I would definitely say this is like a 3.5, 3 3/4 level match, in my opinion. I would give it a rec, to be honest. I wouldn't say it's 9 out of 10. I do think that's a little strong. But the NXT fans, like you said, they're into the characters more. And I think maybe we were missing something with them. But I wouldn't see that in this match, to be honest with you. I don't think they wrestled spectacular. I thought they did good power work, helped along by a great effort. I really liked the technical work they did with Axiom and Hank in the middle. That was one of my favorite parts of the match, actually. In general, when I look at Fraxiom, I think Axiom is an exceptional worker and somebody that could be a star if they got behind him. I think he's got a great look. The gimmick's pretty good with the entrance. They're both fun characters. They've grown into this odd couple tag team that really works character-wise. Frazier, I don't think is a great worker, to be honest. I think he's a spectacular guy. He can do great moves, but the fact that he was trained by Seth freaking Rollins really shows in his work, in my opinion. And it depends on how you feel about that. If you're a fan of that style, then I suppose you could say he's great. But for me, I think he doesn't have what Axiom has in the ring. But that said, I will shout out to him. He made a very heartfelt and emotional post on Twitter recently about Easter and how he converted and into his religion and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool that he shared that personal part of himself. So big shout out to him for that. As a wrestler, I think he's not as well all-rounded as Axiom, excuse me. And they're probably better off just going up as a tag team, to be honest. I don't see them getting behind these guys on the main roster.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because I think that they gel better in the SmackDown tag division, but Raw needs them more.
Yeah, exactly. And they would
because
be a great
on SmackDown now, you're pretty much recreating the SmackDown 6, but in a tag team form. It feels like with your Motor City, Pretty Deadly, DIY, Street Profits, you've got a good chunk of really competent in-ring performers, especially Pretty Deadly, right, Dylan?
The best of them all, of course. Yes, boy. They kind of took away, they kind of turned the babyface and took away some of their character though recently. They're better off with comedic stooges. Even then, I would take Pretty Deadly over DIY. I would say if you gave me a choice, who may be my least favorite team ever. But still, Fraxiom versus New Day. That's one of my big criticisms for WrestleMania, in my opinion. We covered that segment on this show. They had one of the most heartfelt and emotional turns in years and years with New Day, and they ended up having him in a nothing tag match with War Raiders. They couldn't have done better. And that was my fear. Remember, we talked about that in that segment. That's why I said they should have turned on each other. Because they could have had a big singles match that felt like one of the biggest matches of the show.
Hey, you can't put down a War Raiders match because there's always Viking pride on the line. We've always got that stipulation.
And they tried to weave a story together with the neck injury and all that stuff there. They're good. I have nothing against War Raiders. Don't get me wrong.
I do. I was kidding.
Oh, you hate the War Raiders?
I'm not a War Raiders guy.
Okay, that's fine. You hate Hanson. What is it?
I like Ivar.
Okay, so
yeah,
you do
I guess
like
I'm just not an Eric guy. Yeah.
A row. Okay, he's the problem. Okay. Yeah, but the fact is, though, New Day can win the tag belts, and Fraxiom comes out to challenge. I think that kind of gives them an immediate bump up.
Yep.
Good introduction to the roster. But I definitely see them getting called up. Hank and Tank remains to be seen. I don't see Star with them or even a great team, but I thought they were effective partners for Fraxiom.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm interested to see what they do with a team that isn't Fraxiom because for me, Fraxiom's going to elevate a broomstick. So now I want to see how they sink or swim.
So we move on with Penn here backstage talking about their what was this? This whole thing. So Penn's there from Penn Teller, and Alexis King shows up. He's all like, "Magic's fake. I don't like that fake shit." And Penn is all like, "Keep that cup safe you have." And then he pulls up, he puts in his cage, pulls the thing off, and suddenly Teller's there too. And then he yeets. What? This was some fucked up segment. Whoever put this together, I don't know if they were sober.
Yeah, big NXT pop for Penn and Teller here. I honestly thought I thought it was Joseph Park at first.
He does kind of look like Abyss.
Right? I was like, why the fuck are they showing Abyss? She was these one half of Vegas's longest tenured. I was like, Abyss?
Yes, Abyss and Penn are seeing. Have you ever seen them in the same room together? Okay.
No, which tells you everything.
Exactly. Conspiracy theory. Penn and Abyss and Chris Park. Same. It's the same thing. So this had nothing to do with anything, but I guess they got a sponsorship deal. Maybe Penn and Teller gave them a few bucks to put this on their pay-per-view. So we move on to the ladder match for the women's North American title. They announced, again, in between our last show about NXT, Julia and Stephanie had a match. Stephanie won both belts. And she defended them for a little while. They had that week where she defended both belts. But then she ended up giving up the North American title. It was just like, hey, I don't need it. I got the world title. Fuck it. So they said, all right, we're going to do this ladder match here. You've got Zarya, Kalani Jordan, Izzy Dame, Sol Ruka, Lola Vice, and Thea Hale coming in there. So the thing is, it's a ladder match. So right away, we're on a negative foot with Dylan as a fan. And I have to say, this was a pretty sloppy version of it. There was a lot that happened. I don't need to recap it all. They tried some stuff with Zarya doing the power stuff, swinging the ladder around and all that. But otherwise, you saw, Kalani did her split-legged moonsault going in there. They did Lola hit a back fist on there into the ladder, which is like her big spot kind of. They ended up trying to do like a suplex on Kalani into the ladder, but they missed. Like she missed the ladder in the corner with a suplex. But they just move on. Thea does like this arm submission on top of the ladder. And then suddenly Sean Spears shows up for some reason. I was just totally lost at this point. Long story short of it is that Soul hits the Soul Snatcher to Izzy Dame, and then one to Hale, and then Soul gets the win. I didn't like this match at all. I don't know what you thought. This match, I mean, on Cage Match, it's got a 7.12. To me, this is like a 1.5, like maybe even less match. I thought it was pretty bad.
I went 2 3/4.
Okay, so you're kind of in between.
Yeah, I'm more in between. I actually didn't mind the Zarya Soul friendship shit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, we talked about that. Remember when they did the thing on the beach and they just said, wah, wah. They played the sound effect when she dropped the ice cream.
But like, it didn't feel stupid or anything. Like, why are they doing this? Like, it felt like they had genuine care for each other, and then when it came to it, they stiffed each other, and I was into that. It didn't feel like MJF Adam Cole shit, I will say. Like they helped each other, but then they weren't afraid to hurt each other when it came down to just them. So I thought that was cool. I liked the big spots for what they were. Like, this was my first time seeing a lot of these people, and I thought that for the most part that they looked decent. Again, like, I don't think that you can compare this to Thunder Rosa, Billy Starks, fucking, just that type of division. Again, when you compare the mid cards, I don't think they're really in the same league. But yeah, like 2 3/4, not good, not bad.
I think I see the most of these people with Lola. I think in terms of charisma and in-ring work.
I liked her kicking sequence.
Yeah, I'm a fan of hers. I mean, we've seen her do like underground matches and crap like that. I'm surprised she wasn't on the Bloodsport show. If you're going to put somebody on there, she's got a track record. But Zarya, I do think they have something with if they wanted to. I think they've kind of messed up her aura overall, but whatever. The stuff with Spears and them, like, I was kind of lost on. I have to. Maybe if you were an NXT fan, you might have got a little bit more out of this. Although I will shout out Matt321 on Cage Match here, who agreed with me and rated this a 1 out of 10. Really messy match. First of all, nobody gets any sort of reactions, and I don't get if that's because they suck. I don't really watch NXT, or because this crowd is not so good. Anyway, match really bad. Everything looked weak, was sluggish, and breaks between spots were bad. The preparation for a ladder bridge spot was embarrassing to watch, with weak ladder stomach shots, and that fall on this construction was really soft. Was the back fall with some girl on Zarya's back. It was predictable that Zarya sold Ruka because other girls are dreadful. And I had, what the fuck are they on pay-per-view with that amount of awkwardness they have inside the ring? That 2 spots when girls were sent to the outside were weird. Why grown-up men like Sean Spears fall down of girl weighing 130 pounds fall on him? Questionable grammar here, I have to say. Just bad and awkward. Only reason why not 0, because I liked Zarya's power moves. Worst ladder match I ever watched. It wasn't that bad, but I have to admit, I'm somebody who hates ladder matches at this point. So, like, you're starting in negative territory, and you have to fight your way out of it to make me like it. And I definitely thought there were some moments of not greatness on this match. But nonetheless, Sol Ruka is champion. She's fine. Like, I mean, she does cool spots. Like, she's very athletic. And she's got the look that they would want, I guess. Like, she's fine to me. I think she's like a really average wrestler, I would say. But she gets a chance to show more with this title. We'll see what she does with it. Best of luck to her. They cut to Gigi and Tatum Paxley along with Shotzi Blackheart backstage. They're going on talking about their win on the pre-show. Gigi says, like, hey, we're the ones who bust our asses the most on this show. And they kind of promo saying they're going to win the belts. They go to... I mean, now we got to just a point where I was just like, what the, like, what's going on here? So we cut to the D'Angelo family, and they set up a 6-man tag match. We've got Channing Stax Lorenzo, Luca Crucifino, and Tony D'Angelo taking on DarkState, Dion Lennox, Osiris Griffin, and Saquon Sugars, formerly known as Lucky Ali. What is this DarkState? Because the thing is, I was waiting for a big, like, explanation for all of this. Because we saw them at the last show, remember?
Yep.
Where they just randomly beat down people like 3 times on the show. And there was no explanation given to any of this at all. They just wrestled like normal wrestlers. There was no, like, I mean, I presume they were trying to do, like, an invader type of angle, but I don't know. They won. I will say that. They did get the win here. So they go on. They were fighting off early on. Stax was trying to wrestle a lot of the match early on. They kind of, DarkState got to dominate for a lot. They finally made a hot tag to Tony, and he fired up. They hit up his spine busters on everybody. Sugars tried to go to the top rope, but Tony D threw him off. And they tried to fire up back and forth. Rizzo came off with a crossbody. She's the girl to take off Cutler on the outside. They go in back in the ring. Stax brings in a crowbar, and Tony is all like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And Stax is like, but I had a crowbar. You could beat him. What's going on? And then everybody beats him down. Tony kisses Stax, Mafia style, and throws him over the rope onto everybody on the floor. Stax ends up getting the crowbar, drops Sugars with it. Tony and Stax, they hug it out. They're like back in together. And he basically has this big NXT lame, super weak moral dilemma that he has. So they're like, is it all man? Is he going to hit him? Is he going to hit him? So he hands the crowbar to the ref. He's like, nah, I ain't turning on Tony D. And then he low blows him immediately afterwards. DarkState hit the triple bomb. What is the point of this DarkState? I'm just so lost by all of this. Why did they turn Stax on Tony D? What hope is there for either of these groups? I'm mystified at the storytelling here. What did you think?
Not for me.
Yeah, this sucked. Like,
this
sucked.
was not good. I'd give this like 1.5. Just the story didn't interest me. I hate to see Italian on Italian violence, just really disappointing.
Oh, of
And
course.
yeah, the in-ring work was not impressive. This felt like an NXT TV show match, which is to say the stuff that I choose not to watch regularly.
It's got a 6.60 rating. And I have to say the inmates may be showing some very heavy favoritism to NXT on this show. Because I thought both of the last two matches were like 2 and 3 out of 10 level to me. And like I said, DarkState winning. Where are they going to go with these with these people? Like, I don't know what hope. The problem with this Mafia deal, how could they possibly bring this to the main roster like in 2025? What upside is there with any of these people? And I mean, they're okay. I thought this match was not that great. And I've seen Lucky Ali on the Indies. And I mean, I'll tell you, I'll give him this. I thought he had some good vibes to him. Like, he brought some good energy to this match. He tried to do the work rate stuff for his team. But even in this gimmick, this was not at all for me at all. I did not like this match whatsoever. We'll see what they do with Stax and Tony D. They cut to Hank and Tank. They bragged about winning the tag titles. They said they're brothers going in there. So good stuff there. They're not really brothers, but, they worked hard, so that's good. Going into the next match, we've got the NXT Women's title and yet another multi-person match. Jada Parker, Jordan Grace, Julia, and Stephanie Vaquer. 4-way dance here. What do you think of the decision? I think in hindsight, I'm spoiling a little bit. I like the main event better than this match, but do you think that this should have been the main event instead of the triple threat?
Yes. Especially throughout the show, the way that they were also promoting the matches, it felt like the women's one was going to be the main event.
And this had the most star power in it to me. Jada's an NXT player, but the other three had big names from the Indies and Japan going in before. So they come in. Julia and Vaquer start to team up a little bit, but then it leads to another of their stare downs. They pull them away. Jada interrupts. Her and Grace go at it. Stephanie and Grace had a really sloppy sequence here, and I was really surprised by it, considering Vaquer's been basically flawless in her NXT run so far. Every time I've seen her, she's actually outshined Julia for the most part. I would say, it deserves to be the champion, but they had a really rough sequence in the start here. Julia fires up with headbutts, starts to take people out. Her and Jada have a little back and forth. Parker is about to go after Stephanie, but Stephanie counters her corner butt bump thing that she does. Julia and Vaquer team up again, but then Grace double teams Julia and Vaquer, and then Parker comes off the top with the double headhunter blockbuster there for a big tower boot doom spot. I thought looked great. It was a very unique way to set it up. It made Jordan look like a beast. Vaquer does her thigh crush, head crush move that she does that Booker T loves so much. Yes. He loves that move very much here. But the problem is, so Jordan fought out of it, and the crowd booed. They wanted to see this thigh bumper move here. But Julia comes in, tries to lock in a guillotine choke on Jordan. Jordan overpowers Julia with a big suplex. Then hits a Northern Light suplex on Julia and Parker. Let me say one thing here, because Julia ends up doing a big dive, hits the big shoot headbutt on Parker. She stood up. And I just think that, man, like there wasn't that much crowd reaction for this, and I was surprised, like at this point, because they gave her a big stand-up spot here. And I mean, like I said, I mean, she looks amazing, like with the blue hair. I think that's made her look even better than it was before. She had the braids here. I know there's a lot of talk online about it, but she wore that in Stardom too, and Marigold. But I think her look is phenomenal. She's a very charismatic person and a great worker. But for some reason, this just didn't work for some reason for the crowd. That was Stride. But finally, like after that weak reaction to the Jordan and Parker stuff, they bring it down to Stephanie and Julia, and now the crowd's into it. They go crazy with this strike battle. This was like some of the best wrestling on the show, in my opinion, between Julia and Vaquer. Big headbutts, fighting the hell out of each other, going to the ground, going in there. She countered the thigh bumper move into a curve stomp from the surfboard, and that's like my favorite version of the curve stomp. Looked great. Julia was awesome here, I thought. Parker comes in, gets her little spot too. Parker ends up hitting a triple stack hip attack on all the other three. Then a Michinoku driver to get a near fall on Stephanie. Julia and Jada do a technical work. Julia kind of eats her up a little bit and locks in the Stealth Viper, her old finisher in Stardom, like old school. Then Vaquer comes in, applies the Muda lock on Jordan. They're all together in this big interconnected submission. Ends up hitting the Eat Defeat on Julia, hits a running knee attack to Jada, and then runs across the ring to hit another on Parker. Like Stephanie was going crazy here. Hits Primera on both women back to back. Booker T is just going insane here on commentary for Stephanie, going crazy. She looks for a finisher called the package into the backbreaker, the SVB here. But then they come in. Jordan comes in with a big standing back fist to Julia. Looks for a big power bomb, but Julia counters into a near fall off a flash pin. Vaquer hits the spiral tap, the Cancun tornado, and then the SVB on Jada. I thought the ending was really well done because Julia made literally a last second dive to get it, but the three hit just before she could break it up. I thought they timed that really well. A really great idea. And I thought that this match was really good, like a big upgrade from the prior two, I would say. What'd you think?
Yeah, I thought that out of all the multi-man matches on the show, that this was the best one. It again felt like the main event. The star power was there. I did not think that Jada looked out of place when compared to the rest of the women.
Yeah.
So, I thought everyone looked good. The only thing I think that Julia, from what I see on these PLEs, just really needs to hone in on maybe is the striking. She's not hitting as hard as she was in Stardom. And I feel it's almost like this. Remember when Kenta became Hideo Itami and it was the same thing where it was like his strikes just became way less impactful, and I feel like there's almost this hesitance because you don't really want to hurt someone or etc. But I feel like she needs to find a balance between the two, of killing someone, just stiff striking, murdering, and soft touching. So, but that's the one thing I'd really like to see.
I thought that there were some moments that I didn't like about this match. I mentioned the Vaquer and Jordan stuff. I thought Stephanie actually held up too, was guilty as well as Julia. I agree with you about Julia completely. But even on the Cancun tornado that she did, the Sky Twister press, she grazed Jada to break it up. There was no real contact there, and let alone some of the striking. I thought the best part of the match was unquestionably Julia and Stephanie's showdown. When they finally did it, and it helps they built up to it and made it feel like a big moment. But I thought they were comfortable enough to unleash against each other, and that was the best stuff I saw in this match overall. And in general, I think what I would have done, there was only 6 matches on the show. It wasn't crazy amount. I would have broken up into, say, Stephanie versus Julia, and then Jada and Jordan have singles matches. and let them stand for what they would have done. I think the matches would have been equally as good or maybe even a little better than what we got here. Like, this is good. It's got a 7.65 rating. I would give it a 3.5 star rating. Like 3, give it a rec for sure. But I think it could have been even better if it was the singles match between Julia and Stephanie.
Yeah, I would have liked to see the singles match on the PLE as well. This show just needed more singles matches.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that for sure. And because I thought their first match, they left some stuff on the table, like the double title match. And I thought we got a glimpse of their true potential here, but I don't think it was realized. But still, a good match, worth watching. I think the inmates are pretty fair about it, I would say. Main event. They do an interview with Stax. No, they talk with. They go to Lexus King first. He's like, "Where's my Heritage Cup? Where'd Penn put it?" And they're like, "We don't know where it is, Lexus." So Stax comes in, and they're like, "Hey, what's up with the turn, Stax?" And then Luca Crucifino runs up, and he's like, "Hey, what's up with the turn, Stax?" He's all like, "I did what I did. I'll tell you Tuesday. Keep your phone close." And then Luca just kind of stands there.
It's so fucked up.
Yeah, and then Luca just kind of stands there looking like a dumbass. What kind of name is Luca Crucifino? Anyway.
It sounds like Crucifino sounds like an appetizer, like a nice like a crostini type, like with maybe a little seafood. Like, oh, I'll have a couple Crucifinos.
Yeah, it reminded me of like crucifix type of deal. I mean, you got the crucifix pin. Like, are you trying to make a fun on that? Like, that should be his finisher. Like, call it the Crucifino.
Yes.
But yeah, like, stupid angle. All of that sucked. I hated all of that, the Mafia stuff we had on the show. They're usually a fun act. I still question if they have any main roster hope. But this angle, how they did it, was not off to a good start. So we go to the title match. Trick Williams, Javon Evans, Obafemi. They start off going on. Evans, I thought, came off with a really hot start here. He did some good flying moves, good strikes, hit a big drop kick at one point to Oba. Tried to go for a flash pin. That was really good. Trick tried to do his Booker T running leg kick, but Javon dodged that. Oba comes in, grabbed them both on his shoulders and hit a double Samoan drop. Femi was a beast. Like, whenever he was on top, he was doing some crazy stuff. They tried to do a Doomsday device spot on Trick, but Trick actually ducked it on top of Oba's shoulders. It was really good. Femi ended up slapping the shit out of Trick to knock him down. Evans fires up on Oba. They're all trying to fire up. Javon and Trick have a face-off. And then Williams ends up running up Oba's back to knock Javon out when he dove on. It was a really good spot, to be honest. Oba's on the floor. Evans does some more stuff. He gets on to the apron, and Trick goes up to the top to hit a double dive on everyone. Then Evans ended up doing this jump from the bottom rope into a moonsault, which looked insanely awesome. Evans was just fantastic in this match, I thought. He ends up hitting a whisper in the wind on everybody. Then they do a spot where Trick hits a superplex while Femi has him on his shoulders. Another great inversion. Both of the title matches had those with a great Tower of Doom inversion spots. I really love that. Evans hits a big handspring kick on everybody, hits the big frog splash, 1 count kick out from Oba, and he gets pissed coming in there. He looks for the choke slam, but Javon counters that into a diamond cutter, hits the big springboard into the cutter, sliced bread at one point. He looks like he's about to get another cutter, but Oba knocks him out with a right hand punch, throws Trick to the outside. They're going in. They build up to Evans finally slamming Oba. Hits the springboard cutter with the Oz cutter. Great near fall. The crowd totally bought that as a finish. Then suddenly Trick pulls the ref out of the ring And that leads to a suicide dive from Javon Evans there. Femi goes to the outside, throws him through the barricade. Trick hits the bookend through the announce table on Oba. Femi's up, and in the end, Femi gets the win there with the running knee. No, that's not what happened. He ended up picking up the fall from grace on both men to pick up the win there to get the win. So I thought this was the best match on the show, personally. I thought they worked really hard. There were tons of creative spots. I thought Evans was the MVP of this match. I thought he was awesome in all of his matches. Femi, I think, is a great beast. Like, he had some cool power spots. They had some good thought put into this match as well. It's unfortunate that Trick kind of blew his main spot trying to break up that pin late, but I thought that they worked really hard together and had a really good three-way match. I don't think it was like, it's definitely not a 9.42 the inmates have it as. Like, they're way ahead of me on that. Jesus. But I thought it was a well done match, and they worked really hard here, and I thought Evans really broke out. I actually would have had him with the title here if it was up to me. But they wanted to focus on the Trick stuff, I think, for a future storyline overall. What'd you think?
Also would have had Evans win the title here. I may chalk it up to just fatigue, mostly in terms of multi-man matches, but I thought the women's match was better than this. Just because after seeing the Fatal 4-Way, I was like, okay, another triple threat. Or like, now a triple threat. And so at this point, I felt like I had just seen a lot of just multi-man offense and stuff. So some of the things just didn't really grab me as much. And again, I, perhaps should just chalk it up to fatigue. So, but no, I mean, by no means did I think it was a bad match. I'd go like 3.25, 3.5 on the women's. I thought Javon Evans really looked like a star here. And I think that the other two guys are ready to be called up.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
I would have pulled the trigger here. Because you're not going to get a bigger platform,
I don't know what they're going to do with Trick, to be honest, as a heel. Like, I mean, the thing is, for years now, we've all agreed he's got super swag. Like, he kills it in terms of charisma, like good promo and all that stuff. It's always been the in-ring that's been lacking with him. And I don't think he's really changed that much over the years. He's kind of where he's at. Like, the look's great. The charisma's great. The in-ring is okay. It's not like he's terrible. But, like, you compare him to Javon, it's like Javon is on a completely different level than him. And I think Oba is great in his role as the power guy. Like, yet he's another guy. Great charisma. Like, really has great swag as champion. The strut he does to the ring is awesome. Like, his power moves, he looks like a beast. And I thought Evans did a great job. Evans just wasn't great on offense, but he was great at making Oba look great as well. And I already like Oba. Like Oba's already pretty great. So he only advanced him here. And I thought Trick fit in well enough. I thought he was the weak link of the three, but still a good performer and a good match. Like, I thought this was really strong. I would give it 3 3/4. I would think about, 7 or 8 out of 10 on cage match. I might be nice to give it to 8 because I didn't like the show that much heading into the main event. But like I said, the rating is way high. I don't agree with that at all. But like I said, maybe people are just into the characters here. Again, I think I would have liked it even better if Evans had won. The crowd was ready. It reminded me of the show I was at last year. What is Trick versus Ilya Dragunov? The crowd was ready for him to win, Trick to win the title there. It would have been more special there than when they did it later, in my opinion. And I think whatever they're going to do with Evans, whenever he wins the title, will not be as good of a moment as what he would have had if he had here. So we'll see what they do with the characters. I agree with you about Oba. I think he's definitely ready to go to the top. The problem with him is I think he's got such good upside that you really want to debut him in the right time. Like, you don't want to call him up just to call him up. You need to have something planned for him. Like, real talk, for me, if I could, like, rewrite history with how things happened, I would have had like my first program would for me, like let's say Oba did drop the title here, and let's say Gunther retains. I would have had those two be a program, like Oba Femi versus Gunther, like powerhouse, big badass motherfuckers going at it. Like it would get over with the crowd. He's got a ton of charisma. Gunther's great, has a ton of charisma. I think it would be a great program and really help him get in. But we'll see what they do with him as the champion. I mean, he's a fine choice to lead NXT. I think he's a lot better than when Paige was the champion, which I just don't think was a good fit at all. I mean, by God, Oba Femi's only 23 years old, man. Like, Evans is only 20. Trick's a little older. I think Trick should be on his way to getting called up. If anything, I hope this turn is a step to getting him aligned with Carmelo on the main roster again. Drop Pretty Deadly and put Trick and Mello in that SmackDown 6 tag division you said. And move Fraxiom up. I think we might be cooking with some gas going in. But overall, 8.77 rating, way too high rating for the show on Cage Match. I do have to say, I disagree with the inmates on this one. I thought that middle portion was brutal. Like, I thought that was like really bad stuff. The ladder match and the DarkState stuff. The last two matches really saved it because I thought they were both good and recommendable matches. The first match I thought was a totally average, like a solid match, better than average, but not good. Like between average and good, I would say. The tag title match I thought was very good. I like that a little bit more than you. This is a really up and down show to me. But to be honest, if we were like not doing this show and we're going to talk about it, I might have checked out after that DarkState match. Like I might not have watched the good matches on the show at that point. That's how much I hated that crap. Maybe like a 5 or a 6, like 6 out of 10 show. I mean, you had 3 recommendable matches on a 6-man card. It's not bad, but I thought those 2 matches just sucked.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say anything was, or no, there. I did definitely check out at points. Certain things I didn't necessarily agree with in terms of like, who I see as the future of the business and sort of just trajectories of certain people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I go 5 or 6 out of 10 here.
Yeah, so we agree pretty much. It wasn't a bad show. Like you can't say it's bad. You had 3 good matches, but there were, like I said, I hated the middle portion. Looking at NXT right now, though, before we get on out of here, we'll briefly go into this. Here's who they're basing their show around on CW right now. They're champions. In the women's division, you've got Sol Ruka and Stephanie Vaquer. Okay. Like I said, I think Stephanie for sure is one of the people you want to be one of the top stars of the show. Tag titles now Hank and Tank. You've got Ricky Saints as the North American champion. Lexis King as the Heritage Cup person. And Oba Femi as the champion, like the world champion. What do you think of these belts? You kind of talked about it a little bit. You disagreed with the trajectory of some people. What do you think of the state of NXT right now in terms of its champions and who they're choosing to focus on?
Honestly, outside of Hank and Tank, I think that it is pretty good investments.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Like, I probably would look at somebody besides King as the Heritage Cup winner, but they kind of made him more like a comedy geek on this show, to be honest, with the Penn Teller stuff. But I mean, it's a Heritage Cup. It doesn't matter that much. But I do think that idea was better for Dempsey, like a workhorse worker type of guy to have, in my opinion. But that's something maybe we'll talk about later one day, how things are going with the development of these guys. Because I think the problem with Ricky is I think he should be on the main roster, overall.
Yeah.
Like, he's a little bit older. Like, he's got a lot of upside. I love him as a promo, and we know he can have amazing matches. We talked about that before. And I'm glad he's got a belt, but I think he would be better off on the main roster than, like, NXT needs to really refocus, I would say, like in this next year, where They need to refocus on the young guys. I think, again, like, focus on the guys you need to be in. People like Javon Evans. That should be the top. And Obafemi's a good one, too, even though I think he's good. We both agree he's good enough to be on the Ring roster. I just think they view him as a diamond and don't want to bring him up without a real plan for something big for him. And so we'll see where it goes overall. But, yeah, a fine show, not great, not super special. Some people loved it, clearly. But we'll see what NXT does going forward. We'll see who gets called up. I think for sure the people that should get called up are Fraxiom and Roxy. And I think Trick Willie won't be far behind them. And I think Saints will get called up later in the year. He'll be an NXT guy for this year. Maybe by next WrestleMania, he'll be next in line overall. But I would say Trick, Fraxiom, Roxy coming up. That's a pretty good class of developmental people coming up. I like all of those people. If that comes out, obviously it hasn't happened yet. But yeah, WrestleMania coming up real short. We will be back to talk about that later on. Hopefully you guys listen to that. Hopefully you guys enjoy all the audio we've done for WrestleMania week so far. As we head into Sunday, we're heading at the end of the line. Nello, do you have any last words for anybody before we get on out of here?
We'll be back for WrestleMania.
Yes, we will. Thank you guys so much for listening. And as always, let us know what you think of the show. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Did you have fun watching it? Let us know all you think about everything going on in WrestleMania week, which means let us know what you think going on in all of the world of pro wrestling. Thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, you know I love you. This has been your Wrestle Update.